Sup nerds, I'm CuppaJoey and welcome back to another episode of r/Am I the pee-pee poo-poo person? We got 4 different stories today, there's a little bit of a mixed bag with them, I hope you all enjoy. Am I the poo-poo pee-pee person for making fun of a woman for being in her 40s and single? This whole saga started because my husband took my last name. A couple of weeks ago he got his workplace to change it and his co-workers found out. About half of them think this is the funniest thing ever and about half are deeply offended. Brenda is in the offended half and has made that clear. He and I are in a group chat with his co-workers where we organise carpooling during the pandemic. It's very helpful to us so we can't leave the chat. Since he changed his name, my husband and I have been dealing with a lot of dumb jokes in the chat which we have been mostly ignoring. Yesterday, Brenda, his co-worker, and I got into a bit of a spat. I messaged the group asking if someone could take my husband home since I wouldn't be back from work until late and needed the car. One of his other co-workers agreed, and I thought that was that. Brenda messages the group saying, "Maybe if you spent less time at work and more time being a wife, your husband wouldn't come into work with dirty shirts." I took this as a bad joke initially. My husband is a rural mail carrier, so his shirts look like the shirts worn by someone in 90-degree heat on dusty roads. I do wash them, but there's only so much to be done. Me. I could make cleaning those shirts my full-time job, and it wouldn't do much, lol. Brenda. You won't be married very long if you keep trying to be the man in the relationship. I'd be embarrassed as a wife if I did so little for my husband. Me. Well, I work more hours and pay the bills, so I think he can clean his own shirts if it's so important. Brenda. Maybe you should learn to take proper care of your husband or you'll find yourself divorced. Me. I'll let you know when I need relationship advice from someone who is 42 and single. Now, apparently Brenda is going around saying that I mocked her for being single in her 40s. I don't care if someone's single in their 40s, but I think it's absolute BS that she can call me a bad wife, but I can't point out that she has no frame of reference. Am I the poo-poo pee-pee person, Reddit? Edit. People are asking why I need help arrange rides in the first place. When my husband is out on deliveries, he rarely has self-service. So if I find out late I'm going to be home late, I need to be able to reach his co-workers directly. Multiple spouses are in the chat for the same reasons. Edit 2. People are saying that I've hurt my husband's feelings by saying I pay the bills. After reading the exchange, he sent me a text saying, "Sometimes I forget you're a hard little bee who takes no prisoners. I'm so proud, lol." He's fine. I asked him just now if my comment about the bills hurt him, and he said, "Oh yeah, it's so hard having a hot wife who makes good money. Really, really tough. Praying for me." I normally don't read out the too many edits if I don't think they're relevant. This one wasn't too relevant, but I just really enjoyed that last bit, so I thought that I'd, include it anyway. The thing that I found really interesting is the kind of emotions that the titles give you before you actually read the main story behind it, because I had a look at this one and instinctively when you see, making fun of somebody for being in their 40s and single, you think, okay, yeah, that's definitely a butthole move. But then when I saw all of the awards, I was like, okay, there's definitely more to this story. I wasn't actually going to look into it at first, but wow, okay, so the OP is definitely not the misogynist in this situation, but Brenda absolutely is. This is what it all comes down to, is that Brenda just seems to be one of those women that doesn't like women and seems to think that if you're a wife, then you have to perform these super feminine, clean cook duties, which, as we all know, is an absolute load of horse dung. The fact that she was offended by OP's husband taking the wife's name, why? Why be offended by that? It could be that it's one of those situations where she's got an absolutely okay, so first of all, I'm going to cut off that point and then I'm going to return to it. The whole who's named after who, I understand wanting to have the same surname as your spouse, but how people go about that, the woman should take the man's name, is absolutely not where we want to go. In fact, my fiance at the moment is still unsure what she wants to do with her name, whether she wants to just take my surname or whether she wants to double barrel her name. And you know what? It's her freaking name, so it's her decision and absolutely not mine. I'm gonna keep mine just because that's what I'm comfortable with. I've already freaking changed my name once, being a trans guy, so I'm happy on that front. However, if I did think, wow, she has a really beautiful surname that would flow really well with mine, then yeah, I probably would take it. And if she wanted to keep her surname and not have anything to do with my surname at all, then that would be completely valid as well. So the fact that she's offended that he's taken her surname, I mean, the whole making fun of it's really pathetic, it really is. And then to be like, you need to be a proper wife. I think that she just wants OP's husband. She's clearly really annoyed. I reckon that there's a certain amount of jealousy going on here. And yeah, you can't really say this is what you should do with your marriage if you're single and you have no scope of reference. And that is exactly what OP was saying. They were saying, look, how can you talk about marriage when you've not been married yourself? That was like the whole point of it, but it was a little bit like in the way that it was said. But to be fair, considering that Brenda's been really cruel and like misogynistic and nasty about this whole thing, she probably deserved it a little bit back. And the whole, oh, she made fun of me because I'm single. I wonder why you're freaking single with an attitude like that. I also feel bad that OP felt the need to like clarify if she was being an arse or not, because she definitely freaking wasn't. So I originally found this story while scrolling through r/insane parents, which, is going to tell you what the outcome of this story is already. Am I the arse for cancelling my stepson's birthday because he facepalmed me? I married my husband 2 years ago and my relationship with my stepson, 12, has never been well. We tried everything but nothing seems to work. His behaviour towards me is so terrible, he shouts at me, swears at me and calls me the worst mother ever. His 13th birthday is tomorrow, and since my daughter, 7 female, birthday is only 10 days apart, we usually celebrate them both in the same day. They are fine with it. I ask my stepson who he has invited, and that's when he facepalms, gesture, and tells me that he already answered this question before in the worst tone ever. This is where I lost it and told him because of his attitude I'm going to cancel his birthday tomorrow. At first he didn't believe me since it's not the first time I intend to punish him without actually doing it in the end, but this time I was serious. And to prove it to him, I called his grandparents and told them his birthday got cancelled. He started crying and begging me not to cancel, but I told him it's too late. Now, often when I look at Am I the Arse, I will try and, look at both sides, even if one side's freaking awful, and say, well, it could be this situation, we don't know everything, however, blah, blah, blah. But I don't think that I can do that with this. For face palming, are you serious? First of all, I don't think that it's right to celebrate 2 birthdays, like a 13th birthday and a 7th or 8th birthday together. Like, where OP has said he is fine with this, I'm really not sure if she is, or, well, if they are fine with that, or if she has just convinced them to be fine with that, because the way that she's writing this means that she's trying to paint herself in a good light, but it's really not working for her. The thing is that kids, pubescent kids and, teenagers especially are going to have a bit of an attitude now and then. It's just part of it. You've got this bundle of hormones going on that makes you want to cry and makes you angry and makes you take things far more seriously than they actually are. Everything feels so make or break in that moment, and so, you can get a bit tetchy. By facepalming her, yeah, sure, he was a little rude, but that was it. And, he's a kid, he's probably getting frustrated, and he's probably not all too happy that he has to share his birthday with his, sister's 7th or 8th. That's the thing, is that, if you're invited to a 13th birthday party and there's like a, a little girl princess party or whatever going on next to it, that kid's not really going to be seeming particularly cool with his friends. But yeah, the fact that they're saying, oh, we called your grandparents shows, I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be like a kid's birthday party or rather just, a family one. But even so, like, it got to the point where he started crying, and when she goes, nothing seems to work, his behaviour towards me is so terrible, he shouts at me, swears at me, calls me the worst mother ever. Why is he doing that? That's what I'm asking. If she's willing to do this, willing to cancel a birthday over a freaking facepalm, and he's previously been, insulting her, saying that she's a terrible mother, it could well be that she's a terrible mother. Also, the fact that she's, the stepmother as opposed to the biological mother and has only been around for 2 years, means that she could well have some resentment towards her, her stepchild that she's not really knowing how to manifest, so she's just punishing him harsher. Either way, I just think this is awful. Complete overreaction, complete overkill, and something that's really going to upset that kid over, entitlement. Would I be the arse if I gave my cousin an earful in front of his lenient parents? I have a 5-year-old cousin. I also have a 4-month-old kitten in my house. My cousin's parents don't know how to discipline their child, and he's always really badly behaved. Whenever he visits, he keeps scaring our kitten. He jumps off chairs, makes loud noises, and throws crap at her. I gave him an earful about how he's a badly behaved child and I won't allow him near my kitten because she's getting scared. I made sure to be fair but firm. I laid out his behaviour and explained why our kitten doesn't like it. He seemed response while we were present. I assume that means responsive. But then he came back another day and forgot everything. His parents are ridiculously lenient with him. Kids should be kids, but anyone should know not to upset animals the way he does. He scares her right in front of them and they don't do anything. They also give me silent stares when I tell the kid to stop doing something that would scare my kitten. Next time, I'm planning to give him another earful, but this time in front of his parents. Oh, so last time they didn't? Okay. I'm sorry, I just noticed that they said that they gave him an earful, but didn't do it in front of the parents, which seems a bit odd to me. But anyway, moving on. I want to make sure they understand why his behaviour is unacceptable, but I'm a little uncomfortable about stepping on parents in this way. I know I can't completely comprehend parenthood, but surely I have the right to step in when it concerns my kitten. Would this make me an arse? And then a little edit at the end. Edit, thanks for the comments. The general consensus I'm seeing is that while my concern is valid, I shouldn't give the kid an earful and should rather have a conversation with his parents. Even though they are too lenient, I would believe them to be responsible people that would listen to what I have to say. Oh, well, at least it has like a little happy-ish ending. At least things seem resolved, I mean. The problem is that you cannot allow your children to think that hurting animals is okay, because if you look over that kind of behaviour and they find it funny, then they're not necessarily going to gain that empathy to, make them realise that that kind of behaviour isn't really okay in any situation. But especially not with animals, or when you consider that, hurting animals is like one of the first signs of like a future serial killer, you might want to step in and nip that in the bud a little bit earlier. So you might have noticed that OP was voted an arse in this case. They were only voted an arse just because people were saying, look, you really need to speak to the parents first, you can't just go ahead reprimanding a child. And the thing is that the child is going to take the parents' words more seriously than their cousins. If they get told off, and then the parents, like, for all you know, they could get told off, cry, and then the parents comfort them and tell them, oh, don't worry about so-and-so, she's just being silly or whatever. And then the kid goes right back to doing it. So it might be that you need to just, like, go ahead and talk to the parents. It could be that they're just the kind of parents that really don't like disciplining their kids, and so they just don't, which, you need to help make sure that they're gonna be, healthy, happy, functional adults. Now again, I'm not a parent, so I could be talking out my arse, but, punishment, showing right from wrong is part of it. For me, it was always being withheld a treat. If I was good, I would get a thing. If I was bad, then I wasn't going to get that thing. And I wanted the thing, whether it was like a little sweet or like £1 to put in one of those little toy vending machine things. I was like, look, if you're good, if you shut up, if you're out of my way, then you get to go on that. So, you could do that. Top parenting advice from CuppaJoey over here. Am I the arse for taking my daughter's violin away? Now, that this one's going to be good purely from the amount of awards they were given, of like people who weren't at all happy about this, and also the fact that 1, they've taken their kid's violin away, and 2, it says, arse in great big red over there. My daughter, 15, and I, 38, moved into my boyfriend's, 56, home a month ago. We've been dating since March and wanted to take the next step in our relationship. When we moved in, all I asked of my daughter was that she respect that this was my boyfriend's home and to be respectful towards him. As with practically all apartments in NYC, space is limited, therefore every time my daughter practices her violin, everybody else can hear. This has proved to be an annoyance to my boyfriend, and one of his house rules is that she practice when he's not home. Flash forward to last week, I wake to her playing away. My boyfriend is already at his desk working on a project for work, and he says he's so annoyed and can't focus right now. My boyfriend goes in her room and asks if she forgot the house rules. She retorts that she has a virtual audition in a couple of hours and needed to practice. I had told her not wait until the last minute to practice, but she did so anyway. It was 7 and my boyfriend's work presentation was at 9, my daughter's audition was at 10. So I tell her to wait until he leaves the house and she'll have time to warm up. We leave her room and soon after I hear her plucking the strings and obviously moving her bow. My boyfriend goes in again and she tells him not to go to the lobby. Oh no, she does tell him to go to the lobby and work there, my bad. I didn't like my daughter's tone. She also clearly wasn't going to stop making noise, so I end up taking her violin and bow away until my boyfriend leaves for work. My daughter is so mad that she's shaking when I give her her stuff back. She says she needed to do more than warm up and threw a tantrum before her audition. Now it's a week later and she found out she didn't make it into the orchestra. She has locked herself in a room and calls her stepfather, evil mustachioed, Austrian dictator guy? Yeah, that'll do. 10 out of 10 censorship. And doesn't talk to me at all. Am I the arse? I was reacting to her disobeying a clear directive from me. She was also disrespecting the man I love by kicking him out of his own home. The lobby of our apartment is used a lot and poses a health risk to my boyfriend, and he needs to give 100% at his job. Also, my daughter had plenty of time to practice before the day of. This reminds me of that bit in South Park where Sharon Marsh says to Stan, "Yes, I know I said that you're the most important thing in my life, but what I mean is you're the most important thing after me, my new love interest, and my happiness." And that's exactly how this mother is treating her daughter. She is putting, her older lover above her own daughter. Now, this is a new relationship as well. She is putting this, new relationships can be exciting and all that. I understand that she may be really keen, but she is putting her daughter's welfare, way behind this new romance in her life. Now, I'm not a musician, but I did see quite a lot of musicians in the comments, especially violinists, who were kind of confirming what my suspicions were on this, which is the fact that if you are about to audition, you need way more than just a quick warm-up. It is not like sports at all. It's not like you stretch out and then you can run. You need to take time to, make sure that it's in tune. You got to check, finger spacing. There are all these different technical things that they need to check that I don't really understand, but it's definitely really important. If you don't practice for one day, then it's definitely noticeable, and especially before the audition, you want to make sure that you're on top form. If she was auditioning for an orchestra, then she was clearly, had a hell of a lot of talent, and the mother, pretty much just ruined that. It's absolutely no surprise that she's, not really wanting to talk to her mother, and the thing is that she is going to end up with a child in the future that wants absolutely nothing to do with her. And I mean nothing, I mean straight up not talking to her mother anymore. That is the risk that she is running with this. Also, I think it's kind of insulting that she called her new boyfriend her daughter's stepfather. I've noticed that in a couple of these Am I the Arse ones where it comes to parent-child relationships. That if there's a step-parent involved or the parent's partner or whatever, you've really got to respect the child's boundaries in terms of who they want to call their parent and who they are comfortable with taking on as a parental figure in their life. A boyfriend who you have just met is not a stepfather. She has taken this girl who is 15, and when you're 15, you're discovering yourself. I'll tell you something about being 15. Being 15 sucks, okay? Being 15 absolutely freaking sucks. During that time of your life, I may just be talking about mine, but during that time of your life, you're miserable, right? Everything seems make or break, and the smallest thing seems like the worst thing in the world, and yet your achievements don't seem as big as they are. I may just be telling on myself as how depressed I was as a teenager, but it does suck, right? You got hormones all over the place, and they're making you so much angrier and so much sadder than you would be had they been, in check. There's also the fact that the mother doesn't know, what opportunity she may have potentially ruined for her daughter in the future because of this. Being in that orchestra could have led to her going to, further places, really, it could have really kick-started her career as a violinist, which, if you're professional, you can do really well at. I'm an absolute lover of classical music myself, and I think that people learning these instruments is so important because I can't play them and I like listening to them, so I'd much rather that the super talented people kept going with it. But there's also the fact that, the stepfather, I don't know why I said stepfather, because I just said blatantly, he's not the stepfather. The mother's boyfriend, he is annoyed at the 15-year-old's existence, it seems. He's so upset about the supposed noise and how he has to be on top form for his job. We don't know what his job is, we just know that he's got a presentation or whatever. Why doesn't he just wear noise-cancelling headphones if it's that much of a problem? If he was inviting... he should have been fully willing to accept the whole relationship, which means that if he wants this mother to move in with him, then he's going to have to accept that her violin-playing daughter is going to move in as well. You can't just force a teenager to like move her whole life and then walk on eggshells to appease like this random boyfriend just so that her mum can get railed and, you know, potentially jeopardize her future career in classical music because of it. It's just terrible. There are so many things that the mother didn't consider, and yet it all boils down to the mother puts her relationship with her new boyfriend above the future of her daughter, and that is what makes her the arse. Don't have kids if you're not going to give a crap about their future. Well, that's it for this episode of r/am I the pee poo poo person? Were these people the pee poo poo persons, or were there other pee poo poo persons? Let me know in the comments. And as I say at the end of every episode, if you enjoyed hearing from this subreddit or would like to hear from any other subreddit, then do let me know in the comments as well. And until then, I'll see you all next time.